Sheila show, because I'm going to have Gia on more often now. Everyone's loving these shows, and every time we have a show, I learn something new, and I appreciate it. This is Gia Combs Ramirez, and she does some amazing energy reports. That's what, when I was looking for someone for my website on my energy report, boy, she just stuck right out, and I knew that this was my girl. I wanted her on my site. So welcome again. Thank you. And I can't wait to see what we talk about today.
That's right, because we did not figure this out ahead of time. We're making it up as we go along.
That's right. We're going to wing it. So for me, I'll tell you, this last couple of weeks since we've been, I don't know what, I remember getting a few messages that would say, like, October was going to be my time where all my hard work was starting to come to fruition. And that is exactly what's happening. Not in a way that I thought it was, but certainly I have gotten, I'm in really major creative mode right now.
That's exactly what we all need to be doing, but there is something about those of us who are aligned to our purpose and have found the way to express that purpose into third dimension, as I call it, bringing it out. Boy, we're very busy, and we're not just in doing things in third dimension. We're also, as old souls, we're working in other dimensions as well. It's like a very, very active time for all of us. And for myself personally, my level of creativity is sort of exceeding my physical capacity. I'm in what's called, in Ayurveda terms, I'm in a kapha body. So it's, I'll never be the first one to get there, but I will always get there. I'm just slow and steady. And so there are moments in the day and I'm just like, I'm just going to stop and I'll pick it up again tomorrow. But that's really exciting, Sheila. You certainly have increased in your light quotient, as I would say. You're really radiating light. And, we've talked the last couple times about the emerging crystalline energy system, and you've shifted into that. That allows you to hold all this light without attracting the dark. And the old electromagnetic enlightened energies, the more you increased your light, the more the dark came after you. And right now you're just radiating the light, and there's like part of you knows there's no fear now that the bad dark energies are going to come after you and try to take your light or diminish your light. So well done.
Thank you.
Good job.
One of the magical things that happened since we talked is I had about 3 days where I was given this gift where I was able to see me through other people's eyes.
Wow.
It was like, a flash, and it was a feeling. And it was extremely humbling. And after 3 days of that, what I got from that is like, wow, I really want to help that girl out. She's really trying, and I want to help her. And it sort of shifted me into, all right, let's get this done. And that's when, I started really getting into how to edit my shows and produce them and all. And it all came together where that was my worst fear, is that I didn't have the technology or that side of my brain developed enough to work on that kind of project. But it's turned out to be a creative project, which is right up my alley. So I spend, hours and hours and hours. It's like they say, when you're in joy because you lose time.
Well, I usually know I'm in joy because I feel joyful, but that's true. Time suspends itself. I hadn't thought about that. I do want to see, you know, how you're showing up to me energetically is you're much more engaged in this realm.
Yes.
In a way that works for you, right? There's many different ways to be engaged.
Right.
But it's like, instead of, you know, a lot of old souls, they're used to kind of accessing their purpose in another dimension. And so we live in a little bit of a dream state, or even when we create, it's a way to kind of leave this realm. And now you're just bringing it down through you, your purpose, and out into the world. At a pace, of course, that's comfortable to you, but it's that's exactly how I found my life this year has been. Like, oh my gosh, you know, I've had a few challenges with that, and I've started to really look at, you know, so I did my new moon reading for October, and I'm really starting to look at next year, because I do an annual reading for the coming year. And in the way I explain things is that 2017 is a triple chaos year. So we're going to have chaos, which is part of the 3 phases of transformation: chaos in our systems, chaos in our groups, and chaos at an individual level next year. And I was like, you know, we think of chaos as being not so great, right? Everything is full.
Right.
And yet it is a time of heightened creativity. I think, and this is part of what I see has happened for you, is this discernment of how do I want to use my creativity is really up for us. And it's like, you know, creativity as a consciousness doesn't really care. It just wants to be creative. So whether you're creating a new plastic gizmo for Walmart, or whether you're creating a painting, creativity doesn't care. And so the discernment piece is what you, at a consciousness level, at your spiritual level, you're bringing in, like, it's my purpose that I'm bringing forth in this form that I've chosen right now. Like, you've gotten very discerning, and like everything else has fallen away. And that's exactly where you need to be, where we all need to be as we head into this. I called it positioning ourselves for 2017.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. So I've started to kind of look ahead a little bit, like, what are we gonna need to learn? How are we gonna, and for me, it was all about learning how to read chaos. And so, because chaos is just random energy that hasn't been ordered and organized.
Right.
Essentially, it's undiluted,
potential,
pure creation. It's like being in the womb the moment before conception. Anything is possible.
Right.
All right. And so how do you read that in a way that's practical and pragmatic for people, you know, like, but this is one of the big pieces, is finding your form of creative purpose, expressing your purpose through your creativity. And boy, have you got a big steam of head of energy, you know, you're like, I
remember a month or so back, my guides were like, slow down. You have forgotten how much you've got manifesting and that's coming. You need to just slow down. Because I'm
what
like,
a great message.
I can do this and I can do that and I can do this and I can do that. And they're like, okay, but slow down, you know, because it's all going to pile up. And
yes.
And then my painting is in Sedona, which is making, Frederick says that it's a sensation all of its own. Okay. And another thing that happened since I saw you was that, that particular painting in Sedona is of the Trinity, a symbol. And I've responded to symbols well, but I had been told that my paintings were going to take off and that it would have to do with symbols, but I did not understand what that meant, and I didn't see it inside at all. And finally, I was shown another symbol, and wham! And all of a sudden, I just began crying in gratitude, because finally I got that opening that I had been asking for. And finally, now I know exactly what I'm going to be painting.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is. It's been exhausting and awesome all at the same time. But at least now I understand where I was going with that. And so I got to say that even since I've had that, I have not even picked up a paintbrush. But because I knew I had to get my show and get myself organized in this aspect. Then whenever I do a show, wham, bam, bam, I can do it, and then I can get back to my painting. So it's all coming together. But man, oh man, have I had breakthroughs.
That is really great. And I want to point out something, because I think this might be useful for any listeners, is that your intuition and guidance is so potent, not because you're really intuitive and psychic and so on and so forth, but because your ego doesn't get involved with the message. So the ego could get involved in the way of like, so you get a message and then you're like, oh, well, I want it to look like this, or I want it in this form. And instead, when you're not quite sure, you leave an opening there for, well, what does that mean? Well, how's that going to fall? And usually the ego wants to know, or it wants to control the form, or it wants to get involved. And your ego is so very quiet, and not, jumping in there, trying to take over. And that's something to be able to, it's one thing to be able to be intuitive for somebody else, like, I can tell you how to fix your life, Sheila, but can I get intuitive in my own life? And it's that aspect that you have, that very quiet ego that isn't jumping in. You ask questions, you allow the space for the message to unfold in a bigger way. And that is something that we all need to remember as we're getting those, the universe, our guides, our higher selves are speaking to each of us all the time, but we either edit it because it doesn't fit into our little picture that we think it should look like, or whatever reason we have. But
well, I made this deal with my ego. I said, now if you'll just calm down and just stay a little quiet, wait till you see what happens.
It's so cute. Like promising a treat to a kid.
I swear, if you'll just be good, be still, great things are coming.
That is great.
Well, and I got to say that, I have been on the Unfold plan for probably about 5, maybe 6 years now. And it is something that has taken time and skill to master.
Yes.
We call it the 11th hour, just waiting for, I was just like, when will I ever figure out how I'm going to do these paintings? And the 12th hour finally arrived, and it was perfect, because if I had tried to pursue it, I might not have understood it. I think I had to be, I think I had to respond to those different symbols before, it's like grades, I had to respond, and then finally, bam. Okay, now I got it. And it takes a village with me. I mean, I had to have lots of help.
I think it takes a village for all of us, but what I'm hearing that I think is really important is that you're working with the symbols for yourself first before you brought them out to help everybody else.
Right.
You were able to, let them work with you.
Right.
And then when you paint them from that place,
Yeah.
it's a completely different experience. And that, I think, is
Right.
so important, that as we step more into this time of really bringing forth our purpose, that we use our purpose to benefit ourselves first before we bring it out to others. So you're really doing, and of course it does look like, when you step out there, like, oh, look at her, she just started painting and it all works fine. It's like, well, yeah, you've been working on it for a little while. So you make the mastery part of it look very easy, but you've got everything. And so this is great, because I think it's what you're describing. I've kind of come to that same place that you're in, but using different tools and techniques. I actually find that reassuring. There's nature never just creates just one way to get someplace. And so
Right.
It's very reaffirming that whatever our method is that we've chosen to work with, that we're beginning to see the culmination of all that. And it's pretty exciting times, which, is also the ancient Chinese curse. May you live in exciting times. So
well, how much excitement can a girl take? I mean, really.
Have you noticed, I've had a couple people mention this, have you noticed that your intuition has been increasing?
Absolutely.
Or your spiritual, your psychic spiritual gifts, has it been increasing?
Yes, it has. In fact, the other day I was driving to the store, and there was a car next to me, and I just picked right up on the person driving in the car, and I'm like, keep your head straight. Because when I go out, that is like really when it's so, and I think that's why the Sasquatch conference was so amazing, because all of us there were in that open mode, in that family. Everyone has had some kind of experience. This was our safe place. It was a rather small conference, but it was very international. And yeah, so that for me, since I don't usually do crowds anyways, it was a chance. It was a big chance. I wasn't going to go. And Kelly says, well, I'll pay for your ticket. And Frosty says, well, I'll get a hotel room and drive you if you'll just go.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, I think I'm supposed to go.
The indicators. Can you hear us now, Sheila?
Just give me a sign.
Right. Boom, boom, boom. Sign, sign, sign.
So, and then I did this. I did this healing thing with Michael Harrell, where he kind of took me down to the depths of any sadness that was left inside of me. And I just faced it and owned it so I could let go of it. And I know that, just by doing that, I know there's more light coming out of me. And once that happened, I knew, okay, now there's even more room now for more love and more light and more creativity. And that's exactly what happened, is I just jammed right into it. And I had that, where I could see how people were seeing me, and that was, people, if you will just have the courage to go into the depths of your sadness and face that. You cannot let go of something you don't own. I had to own it. I had to go in and face it and own it before I could let it go. And that's what we're usually afraid of, is going down there and facing it, because we think we're going to die.
Oh, yes.
or never stop crying.
Or not ever come back out.
Right.
Right. So, um, in my studies with transformation, right, there's 3 phases. There's the opening when we're like, yay, something new's coming. And then our lives immediately seems to fall apart. That's the chaos phase. And then if we stick with it, we'll pop into the 3rd phase, the mastery, when we reach the culmination of that phase of growth or evolution, or and it's built into everything. Like we innately recognize those 3 phases. But there were some people I would watch and I was like, so for me, it was always this ascension spiral, right? So it's like, I'm here and then I go through the 3 phases transformation and I end up here and then I start from there and I keep building on that. But for some people, I noticed that they seemed to, every time they started transformation, they would go into this, I started to call it the dark spiral. And it was like they would go down first, into the wound or whatever. And so to me, it's also known as dark Lilith. For me, what you just described is there's that part of us, and it usually does involve the emotional body, that might be still stuck back in a time when something very traumatic happened to us. It's a natural, even though I call it the dark spiral, it's a natural part of transformation. Like, it's like before you can move forward, sometimes you have to go into the past and retrieve whatever got stuck back there and then bring it forward. And that's what you know, when you're describing what you went through, that to me describes that perfectly. And now some people get stuck. They'll go into the dark spiral and they'll just spiral down and then they don't come out. Like you're supposed to, if you go into the dark spiral, you want to go until you retrieve, like there's a treasure in there or some part of yourself. So you want to go till you retrieve that and then you'll come back out again. It can also be a time, particularly in fall, you know, if we're tuned into trees and all their energy spirals into the ground, it can be a time, like if you just feel like you've gotten to the end of, you know, you didn't get the transformation that you wanted, you didn't pop in, and you're just burnt out creatively. If you go into, I call it going into the void. It's very much like the womb, but you consciously go in there and you do have to move through these bands of emotions that might have built up. Yes. And you get in there and it's contrary to what I first thought. It was very fearful for me to go in there like, oh my God, I'm not going to, it's the void, you know? You get in there and it's very restful. It's like, it's pure potential. Right. It's just pure potential. Right. And which is kind of has me thinking about next year. So I'll circle back around to that. But you're lying there in pure potential of the void and you're like, oh my God, this is so restful. And so kind of what happens is you sort of reset. And then this is outside of our sense of timing. You wait until the spark of divine. So it is a dark place, but not dark as in bad or evil. It's just dark. And so the spark of divine comes in and it's like a new cycle of creation starts again. It's how our creative energies can reset themselves in the wellspring of creation, you know? And so I'm kind of thinking if next year is a triple chaos year in our systems, our groups, and individually, it may be like going into the void. It's a time of resetting the entire planet into this new paradigm, as I call it, the new paradigm of kind of a new way for us to be on the planet. And it isn't like we throw everything out, but we're certainly going to let go of stuff that we don't need to be having or doing anymore.
You know, with the election and all coming up, I can think of all kinds of stuff to let go.
You brought up the E word. I can't believe you brought up the E word, Sheila.
That's because it makes us laugh.
I'm always the one like, well, the elections, you're like, yeah, I don't go there. And I'm like, well, all right, I won't bring it up.
Yeah, but whenever I had seen your post earlier and you were saying, I'm getting ready for next year's
Green,
and I'm like, well, bless your heart. I mean, because Jiminy Christmas.
Oh,
man, you're brave to go there.
I'm an old soul, and I love a challenge. It's like every year I'm like, will I be able to read the energies for this year? Like, it's a challenge for me. So I have to learn new things, and I have to grow in my intuitive capacities. And it's like, that's my idea of a good time. But the election.
And I mention that just because it has the potential of changing a lot of things, including some of our way of looking at things.
Well, hopefully that would be the way of transformation. I'm not sure how. I mean, I'm sorry, folks, if I'm bursting some kind of bubble you might have, but Hillary will be the next president of the United States. I've seen that now for over a year. And but I wasn't particularly excited about her, like many people aren't, because to me, she still represented the old energy paradigm. But when I got to see her up there on stage with Donald, and I realized, oh my God, this is the central issue, this relationship between the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and the healing of those two, so that the new relationship between them can come forth. Now, it's going to take a little longer than just 4 years, and I'm not sure how much Hillary will be part of that process, because she's actually part of the old, you can see her, how wounded she is as a woman, having tried, having to navigate through this men's world. And there was something inside of me when I watched the debate between her and Donald, that just, I hadn't realized how much I'd suppressed it until I was watching them in all his condescending ways, and how she got criticized for what color dress she had. And I was like, and this is by women, this is by other women who criticized her. And I'm like, oh my God, so, and talk about, to me, she represents any of us who have had a sense of purpose. And it makes me almost want to cry when I talk about it. When we bring it out into the world as it has been, what I call the old energy paradigm, and and this has been our women, we've gotten beaten down, we've gotten it thrown back in our face, or ignored, or nobody wants this gift of contribution that we've brought forward, and we've hit challenge after challenge. And she represents to me how she just keeps showing up with her vision. She's got to do it her way, obviously, and maybe that agrees with what I think, but I'm not the one standing up there trying to be president of the United States. Like, what tremendous courage anybody who, dares to have a vision and they keep after it in that way.
Right.
There's so many times she could have turned back. So I didn't know whether I should talk about politics and election in my October new moon reading, but it's like the elephant in the room, like it's so all consuming, whether you're trying to ignore it or whether you're part of it, or it's, we're all just waiting for November 9th.
Right.
But on that, I like to look through the lens of transformation and the three phases with the debates that we have.
Right.
And so they have 3 debates, and they have interesting timing. The first one was on the new moon, which is that phase 1 opening, something new, something beginning. And I really do think this new element entered into this election, this gender, the divine feminine really, showed up, and this yearning that I think we all have for the return of the divine feminine, and in fact, the return of the divine masculine. Isn't it interesting, Sheila? Just before we started recording this, my husband came in, I introduced him to you, and it was right there. The divine feminine, divine masculine, obviously through our imperfect representations of that, but we work together on this, my ranch, my laboratory, my energy laboratory here. And so it's within all of us, right? I have a divine masculine, divine feminine. He's got divine masculine. But to me, that's really like, whoa. So last night was the vice president. I was like, I don't want to listen to two white men talking, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, let's get back to the man and the woman, But so the second debate, which is next Sunday, is actually on the first quarter moon, halfway between new moon and full moon. So the second of anything is phase 2 chaos creative. And, Donald Trump is the king of chaos creative. Hillary aligns more with the third phase, mastery exceller, which is why she can be a bit invisible. They're the riverbanks that hold the creative flow. And so she's easier, they're more invisible, they look more boring. So this is where she gets to up her game and really bring out her creativity as well. And so it'll be interesting to see how, for me, in those terms, how that plays out. So I'm always looking at the energy of everything. And then the third debate is in the full moon energy. And boy, this full moon coming up in October, any full moons really heightens the emotions. The one in October always is related. It has that Halloween, Day of the Dead energy. Dispossessed spirits are oftentimes passing into other realms. They come up and they can create kind of a shadow across of our conscious awareness, this shadow, this awareness of death. And so there might be a lot of fear that comes up with it. We'll just see how people play this out. But not going to be another boring October if we ever had one.
And I do want to impress that I am not involved in politics, but the energy has to do and has an effect on our whole world.
Oh, yes.
And as a sensitive, we're able to pick up on how the world is feeling. And that's really why, I brought that up, because even though I don't have, I'm not associated with it, I can certainly feel the energy of the people. And the energy of the people now, I mean, would that be in the time of chaos? Because nobody knows what the heck to do.
It is so chaotic energy just means we're dealing with chaos energies all the time. Anything that we're creating before it has order and organization and form it's just random energy. And then we engage with it and order and organize it into whatever we want to express or form. And so there's just a lot of random energy out there, and we have to order and organize that through our thoughts, through our emotions, and through our physical body here in this realm. So the more creative we are, back to your paintings, Sheila, the more creative we are, the more we order and organize the energies around us, and we can create. My heart goes out to those who are extremely sensitive. They're tuned in at group levels or even system levels. They can feel when the earth is going to have some major shift. My heart goes out to them if they don't have the energy tools to protect themselves from ultra sensitivity, because it was already over the chart. And they're, the canaries, the frogs, they're the sensitives, and they're so overwhelmed with the feelings that they can hardly operate at all. And so there are tools and techniques out there, energy tools and techniques. I just encourage, if you're one of those sensitives, to really find what's going to work for you, find your solutions.
That's right. And as we had said earlier in the show, making yourself first is really important. Really important right now.
Yeah. I have a friend who's very, very sensitive, and we were talking about on her worst days, it's like, you just have to, like, if I only have enough energy, 99% of your energy is trying to deal with all these random energies, chaotic energies. So if you only have enough, you have to get really clear, what is the most essential thing for me to do today? Mm-hmm. And go do that thing. Mm-hmm. And then if the rest of the day you've got to be in bed or, whatever, then fine. But you've done that one most essential thing. So that's just my little tip that I offer to people who are in a great deal of overwhelm.
I had to do that exact same thing day before yesterday. My creativity just been blowing out of me, and I've been on the computer and all, and I had to take the day off and make myself not be on the computer so that I could regain some balance. And it proved to be a perfect thing to do, because the next day, man, I got so much done. My head was clear. I had, I try to do everything within first before I attempted on the outside. That is helpful. That's another reason why I take a break from everything that I do, is because I go inside and I kind of work it on the inside first. And then it's easier for me to wait and allow it to happen, because I've already done it in here. So it's just a matter of time for it to pick up.
I call that assimilating. It's like we have to stop. We have to assimilate, just like digestion, right? We eat, and then we have to digest that before we eat again. And so the assimilating of the energies, it gave you a chance to order and organize everything, brought that clarity of now what's next. Yes. And boom, out you come with your energy again. So
absolutely.
And it was like 3 weeks ago that we hooked up, right? Or 2 weeks ago or something.
Yeah, I think it's just been 2 weeks. I'm like an entirely different person.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Well, listen, our time's about up. I want to thank you for joining me. I want to thank you for your reports and where you're getting ready to go in this new 2017 year report, because wow. And thank you for being my friend and my sister and being a regular guest, because I always feel so good when I'm sitting here, and it's so awesome that people can join us with our little chats, because this is just what we do, and then we record it and call it a show.
I know. I love meeting up with you. You're the highlight of my month. Thank you, Sheila, for everything you're doing. And all of you who joined in, thank you for all you guys are doing too.
Absolutely. Thank you all. From my heart to yours, namaste.
Namaste.
All righty. Great.